Hello, good evening, good afternoon, and good morning. Welcome to Connect Africa. Myself and Kwame are here. So today our topic will be to talk about the U.S. election. Kamala Harris replacing Joe Biden. Will she make it? What does it mean for Africa? Why did Joe Biden stepped out? It might all seem for obvious reason, but Kwame has something more to say. He will analyze it, dissect it for us. Welcome, Kwame.
Thank you very much, Mahlet. And once again, this is my second time on the screen to Connect
Mhm.
Africa. Thank you once again, those ones who are watching us. And thank you, Mahlet, once again also. We appreciate that you are part of this. And we said a time ago, with Mahlet, that it's important that as Africans also we pay attention to what is going on in the imperialistic camp. And of
Mhm.
course, that is the United States and, European countries and whatever they do. And, most of all, Africa is also right now part of the G20. You remember that Africa was admitted into the G20 last year, in India, when India was holding the presidency of the G20. So it's important that we pay attention to what is going on in the United States, because that politics, whether we want it or or not, uh, that politics in the United States affects us as Africans, especially their foreign policy. That they have interest in our resources, so we have to pay attention to what is going on there, and it will help us also to prepare our people, on the ground, on the continent,
Mhm.
and respond accordingly. So, yeah, so that is what we want to talk about. How is the politics right now that is playing out in the United States? What are the prospects for Kamala Harris, as a person who's presenting herself as a black person? And of course, Trump is fighting back that she's not black. She's been presenting herself for a long time as an Indian person. She doesn't want to identify herself as a black person. So all these things are the ones which we want to talk about. So yeah, let's get to it. Mallet, back to you.
Yeah, good. Before I go to the first question, last time we talked about the US election, it was, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks before or something. We had live chats here commenting, like, why do you care, you guys, about what's happening in the
Yeah.
US? Tell us what's happening
Yeah,
in
so let
Africa.
me respond
Yeah.
to that. Mallet, let me respond to that. I think that that is very important for us Africans. And of course, when we say Africans, we speak about the Africans on the continent and also the Africans in the diaspora. It is important for us to pay, attention to that politics, because remember that when we were colonized in 1884 and 1885, we were not there. We were on the continent, and of course, paying attention to issues of the continent, whatever is in the continent. We didn't pay attention to what was going on outside the continent. All right. So these people sat on the table and they divided the continent. So this division of the continent, if Africans were there in the division of the continent, actually, we would not have accepted that they would divide the continent and take it amongst
Mhm.
themselves, the European powers. But because we were not there, then all these things went ahead. So but at least today, in this information age, when the information is freely flowing across the globe, it is important that at least we take these events that are happening within the imperialistic camp, whether it is the fight against each other between the Democrats and the Republicans. We take this and interpret it for our people, so that the people can be able to understand very well what we are talking about, because the issues that we are talking about that affect the African people, on the continent and in the diaspora, are not isolated. All right. And most of these issues, in fact, or these problems that we speak about on the continent, whether it is the resources, whether it's the, is the demonstrations that are going on in Nigeria or in Kenya, all these issues actually stem from, how the Republicans, the politicians in the United States and this imperialistic camp, how they are conducting themselves. So that is the reason why we cannot, put our eye off, what is happening within the imperialistic camp completely. We have to pay attention to what is happening there, because it concerns us as Africans. When you talk about the IMF payments and these loans, all these are coming from these people. All these policies that we are seeing are coming from
Mhm.
these. So it is important that you study what is going on there. One thing that when Mandela was in prison, they asked him uh, why he was reading books on Europeans. All right. So he said that the reason why he was reading books about Europeans when he was in prison, that is Mandela, Nelson Mandela. He said that there's no better way to understand your enemy, because if you want to understand your enemy, then you have to read his books. You have to read and see what he's saying about himself. So this is very important. Therefore, for us here also, it is important that when we are talking about the African continent is not living in a vacuum, is living with a lot of interests. One of those things, could be Indians, it could be Chinese. When you talk about the Chinese, they have interests. Right now, people are underestimating India, for example. But India, its rich people have started coming into Africa and taking up, industries. Ports, Adani has taken up a port in Tanzania. He's taking up an airport in Kenya, which we will come and report on here. So all these issues, then that means that we as Africans also, we have to pay attention to what is happening in India, the dynamics, the political dynamics in India, because they are affecting the African continent. The media, we spoke about the media here with the Mahlet, Indian media, how it is making headways into the African continent. But why? It is because the industry, India's industry is making also, and rich people are making headways into the continent. So this is the reason that we have to pay attention to what is happening, across the world, and also within the imperialistic camp, because it affects the African people.
All right, thank you for that clarification. So now let's dive into it. Did you expect that Biden will be out? Many say that's obvious, but why did Biden finally give in?
Yeah, I think that for Biden, there was a couple of issues there. Uh, when he performed, how he performed during the debate with Trump, that he came in, his performance was very underwhelming, and he faced a lot of criticism, of course. So that criticism, was to be sort of swept under the rug, but it was not possible. He conducted a couple of other pre-carrying interviews, with the mainstream media in the United States. And the performance there also left him underwhelming. So the mistakes which we saw, during the debate, and of course, all these have to do with his age, but other people are saying that it's not because of the age, but it is because of, he has a sickness, okay, dementia, or they are saying he demented or something like that, because his cognitive abilities, have reduced, because of this particular disease. Because simply there is already a lot of people across the world who are older than him. You can talk of people like President Obasanjo, who is over 80, but he travels by himself and is very clear in his thinking. But of course, they are saying that it is, it is a sickness. Other people are saying it is age. And this has led him to forget a lot of things. We have seen him, at the NATO summit, which was, I think, the last nail in the coffin, when he called, Zelensky, he called him Putin, the president of Ukraine, and then he called him Putin, in front of all the NATO heads of state, in Washington, which happened recently. So after this, the voices, rose, because already there was people after the debate, with Trump. There was a lot of people who were calling for his resignation, that he should, resign, and he resisted. And of course, they say that it is his son, Hunter Biden, and his wife who were resisting and saying that he should not resign. He still has the capabilities of being the president. But from sources, they were saying that people like Obama, because Obama somehow has become an elder of the Democratic Party right now, since he has run on the ticket. So he has become some sort of elder who is, whose advice they can seek on. So Obama and other people like Nancy Pelosi, because these are the elders of the Democratic Party in the United States, they were calling for his resignation. So immediately after the NATO issue, Nancy Pelosi even, escalated her call for Biden to resign. I mean, to drop, his campaign for president and give it to another Democratic Party run-up, maybe like Kamala Harris, who's the current vice president. So I believe that he himself was tired, as we are seeing that even when you see him on stage, when he's giving his speeches, he looks tired himself as Biden. But also, we could say that the pressure was, increasing very much on him from the Democrats, from the Democratic Party, and the members, the senior members of the Democratic Party, who saw that he will not be able to, to confront Trump, to debate Trump, or the people will be sympathetic to Trump. And actually also following the event of the Trump shooting, because a lot of people now became very sympathetic towards Trump when there was a shooting, attempted assassination of Trump. That attempted assassination of Trump, the Democrats saw it as almost a last nail in the coffin, which is going to give Trump the presidency. If Biden remains in the race, if he stays in the race, because a lot of sympathy had gone towards, Trump. Now, when you look at Biden, you can see that some people, of course, were suspecting even that it's likely that it's the Democratic Party which had set up this, attempted assassination on Trump. And of course, all that has to be pinned on Biden. So you can see that the Democratic Party had all these reasons, to push for, Biden to step down and leave, another person to run for the presidency on the ticket of the Democratic Party. So simply put, it was himself, I think, being tired, and also the pressure that was coming from within the party, following the events that have been occurring and his performance during the period.
Thank you very much, Kwame. Indeed, you reminded us, what happened. Was that NATO meeting in Italy? Italy is the last one?
No, it happened actually in Washington. It happened in Washington.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was the 75th anniversary of
the Italy one was something else. Okay. But he was also wandering in the cloud, and we saw how
yes,
the
in
Italian
Italy
Prime
it was the G7.
Minister
It was the G7 summit in Italy.
All right, then. Thank you. So moving on, but before moving, I really want to give like a shout out in the middle, Mohammed Musa and Dwayne Neema, who was here early. Thank you very much. Instead of at the end, I decided to give you a quick shout out here. So continue to engage, and we will come back to your questions later on. Now, Kwame, what are now Kamala Harris, her prospect? Does she have a chance even to beat Trump at this point? After such a, there is a lot that the Democrat has committed. Trump, he's not only the sympathizing, but the way now the Americans are looking at things is different. It has changed. So
I think Kamala Harris's chances, there's two way of looking at it. First of all, she has a lot of resources, so you could give her a chance because of the resources that in American politics, most of the people are swayed a lot by sentimentalism, and feelings. That is why you see they invest a lot in the media. All right, they raise a lot of money. They raise a lot of these amounts of money, huge amounts of money, and they spend that money on the media because they want to influence people in a certain way. So their elections, is a lot of it is based on feelings, and so they use the media to influence that. Now, she has a lot of resources, right? If you look at how much money that was left behind by Biden, and it was transferred to her campaign, because she's the leading runner, more than I think $80 million. I think $80 to $90 million, which was transferred to her campaign, and she has continued on to raise also more money. Actually, this money which was left behind by Biden, the Trump campaign, came even to contend in court to sue her and say that it is illegal for the money to be transferred from one country to another. I don't know how far that case has gone, but that is what is happening. So you could give her a chance because of the resources, when it comes to those resources that were transferred to her, and the fact that most of the media platforms in the United States are liberal, so they are behind her. So immediately when it was announced that Trump had withdrawn from that Biden had withdrawn from the race, immediately it was announced that Biden had withdrawn from the race, and she is the one who he has he has seconded her to run. He's behind her. He has given her a chance to run. Uh, you can see that they took polls, all right, to determine how far behind she is, or how much she's leading Trump. They took about 4 polls, right? In 3 of the polls, Donald Trump was winning, was ahead of her. And it was only in 1 poll, which was by Reuters. You remember our friends, the Reuters, we spoke about about them yesterday, how they publish fake news, even in Africa, because we are publishing fake news about Aliko Dangote. So the Reuters, is only the Reuters poll that she came up on top, all right, surprisingly. So they said, they put this all over the media space, that and said that Harris was ahead of Trump. So they ignored the 3 polls where Trump was leading, and all the liberal media platforms started saying that the Harris was ahead of Trump. Okay, so she has 2 things. She has a lot of resources, monetary resources, and number 2, she has the media. Okay, they have a lot of media. The Democrats, that there is a lot of media which is behind us, supporting in this campaign that is happening right now. So but when it comes now on the issues to campaign on, she really doesn't have a lot of things you can say that she's campaigning on this, and this is where it is a threat for her. It is a threat that it will be, it is unlikely that she will be able to compete against Trump, because Trump really knows how to manipulate. All right, the Democrats themselves, they know how to manipulate, because, like I say, the United States elections, they are about sentimentalism and manipulation of information, at a particular moment. So she doesn't have much points, because the United States as a society itself, apart from having really major issues like our countries, which don't have maybe infrastructure, we don't have roads, we don't have schools and stuff like that. They really don't have those major issues. The major issue that the United States has is that it has to do with the distribution of wealth, because they have a lot of wealth. The society has a lot of wealth. 25 trillion-dollar economy, against 330 million people. So you can see that there's a lot of wealth. So the major issues which they have over there is the redistribution of this wealth. So, and then it has to do with the increasing of taxes and reducing of taxes. You can see that Trump talks about reducing the taxes for the rich, so that the rich can create more jobs and build the industries. And the Democrats are saying, no, we need to increase taxes for the rich and stuff like that. So this is where these are the areas where they differ. But even in these, you can see that Trump can debate better than her. All right. And when you look at her performance also as the vice president, it has been underwhelming. Okay, she's not someone who's very likable. When you look at her performance previously within, actually, some people have been saying that she's one of the less incompetent, incompetent, one of the most incompetent, vice presidents the United States has ever had. Even when she came to Africa, I think when she came and visited Ghana, and she went and visited also Zambia, during the United States offensive, when it was trying to, it has been carrying out its offensive across the African continent by sending a lot of its diplomats across the African continent. So she's not that somebody, you say is eloquent. All right. Even some people have been, saying she speaks, how do they call it? She pins together words. All right. She puts together words which are unrelated. She doesn't know really how to make a point. That is the point. So, and if you put that person against Trump, I mean, it could be clear that, apart from the fact that she has a nice face, she looks nice, maybe she may have some appeal, towards young people, right? Because maybe Trump may have an older face and stuff like that. Because things like that also are important, in these elections, that young people may want to identify with somebody who somehow looks like them, because they may think that this person represents what, their demands, or whatever they are feeling. This person represents their needs, some sort of like that. Okay, may be able to understand them. Okay, so you may see that she may have a chance if we are to talk about things in that manner. But when you're talking about eloquency and issues and how to defend her position, it is unlikely that she will be able to beat Trump. So with that being said, if it is sentimentalism, as we say that the elections in the United States are influenced a lot by sentimentalism, a lot of money in the media, actors, musicians, having all musicians on your side, she could win on that side. But if you talk about the real issues, like a lot of Americans right now are feeling the heat because of the income inequality that is huge. We have seen the unemployment on the streets, in California, in Los Angeles. People are now going on the streets. They don't have where to sleep and stuff like that. Yet the society has a lot of wealth. So Trump could be appealing on that side. And there's another issue that she would have defeated Trump when it comes to the black vote in the United States. But now there is a question of whether she's black, right? She's of African descent. Because in the past, in everything she has been saying, she has been identifying herself as an Indian American. She doesn't identify herself as a black, African American. All right. She has never identified herself like that until recently, during when she was, appointed to run on the ticket of the Democratic Party. All right. So this has sort of spooked the African Americans, and they are questioning this woman and saying that this woman is not genuine. She only wants to identify as black. And actually, Trump also jumped on this and started mocking her recently when Trump was meeting the African American, journalists, at a conference. So Trump jumped on this and started mocking her that Kamala Harris was not black until recently. It's just identifying as a black person until recently, when she wants the black people to vote for her. But she doesn't want to identify as a black person. She wants to be an Indian. All right. So she wants to manipulate the black people. So this also is a very, a dangerous, step. This alone also could cause a lot of problem, and it could cause black people to vote for Trump. That is another, problem that we see in there. So aside the media, which of course Trump has ever defeated, the overwhelming media support which he has, which Trump of course has ever defeated when he defeated, Hillary Clinton. So he could still defeat her with all the resources which she has, because she cannot present herself very well, compared to Trump's manipulation and of course mixing lies with the truth together. So I think these are the when we look at it, it is challenging. It's going to be a challenging vote. The chances are there she could win. She could win, but it will be very difficult. It will be very difficult for her to win, against Trump. And I still have Trump ahead of her when I look at what is happening in the United States. It's likely that Trump will the vote against her.
But forgive my ignorance. Is her father black? I know her mother is Indian
Yeah,
immigrant.
so the mother is Indian, but the father is from Jamaica, and I think the father is mixed. If the
Yeah.
father was
Also.
black and European like that, so he was a mix of black and Europe. So you can say he was black because he was from Jamaica, but that's how she has at least presented herself. She said that she was Indian. Maybe she has a lot of influence from the mother's side, probably.
Yeah. Interesting. Now let's go to the substantial part of it. What are the issues that she's running on. And of course, at the end of the day, it's Africa what matters for us. What can Africa take from this? A
Yeah,
lesson
so
can withdraw and from the issues that she's running on.
yeah, so if you look at the American society, like I mentioned earlier, they have solved most of the problems in their societies. That is why you see that even when they come to our societies, when they come to African societies and global South societies, where we have not solved most of these problems, which they have already solved, uh, they always talk about their own problems. They're talking about abortion rights, they're talking about gay rights and stuff like that. So you can see that even in these elections, what is at the center for them is rights like abortion rights. These are the things that you can see that they are talking about. And that's why actually it is even very dangerous for Kamala Harris, because this is what she's dwelling on while Trump is dwelling on economic issues, that, is talking about inflation and all these things. Kamala Harris is dwelling on, gay rights and abortion rights and stuff like that. And that's why it could be dangerous, for her that Trump could defeat her in this election. And of course, there's some mention of inflation. The fact that Trump is saying that the inflation is higher than when he was president. So she has had to address, issues with inflation in the United States, even though it is currently among the lowest, across the globe currently. But again, it is higher than how Trump left it. All right. Then there is border issues, because the Democrats, they are looked at as lenient, but which is not true. In some cases, they are saying that during the Democratic rule in the United States, the Democratic Party, when it is in presidency, in the White House, normally at the border, normally the immigrants get into the country in huge numbers. And Trump and his campaign and the Republicans are manipulating this, and they have been manipulating this, for a long time. But actually, figures tell us that during the Obama era, more immigrants were sent back from the United States, more than even the Trump era. But of course, this is a manipulation. This is some sort of manipulation which the Republicans use to show that the Democrats are more soft when it comes to the immigration issues. And then, of course, the foreign policy. Recently, when Benjamin Netanyahu visited Washington and even spoke at Capitol Hill, in the Congress, spoke at the Congress, we saw that she was not able to meet. Kamala Harris was not able to meet Benjamin Netanyahu. So some people who read between the lines, they see it differently, that it is because of the Democrats, the fact that even though they want to stick with Israel during its genocide in Gaza, what is happening in Gaza, they really want to, at some point, to distance themselves from Israel. That is why Kamala Harris was not able to meet Benjamin Netanyahu when he came, to Washington, when he came over there to speak to the Congress. But he met, of course, Donald Trump. All right. So there could be a difference in foreign policy.
It's
That
interesting because her husband is Jewish, huh?
Yes, yes. So for that, of course, is the party. It's the party for them. They have said, even in the past, that Netanyahu, because Netanyahu, the Democrats have advised him, and he has disregarded some of the advice which was given by people like Biden, and he went on to continue bombing people and blocking and stuff like that. But of course, that is different from the United States as a country. The fact that it has continued on to give support to Israel, weapons and all these weapons and bombs which it is using to bomb these innocent people and kill children and women. So there could be a difference, in foreign policy. Now, how to approach. Trump approaches things more directly compared to the Democrats like Biden. For them, they cover up a little bit, their intentions. Trump doesn't cover up his intentions. If he wants to take the oil, like how we saw during his presidency, he says we are in Syria to take the oil. He comes out and says it. If he's, interfering in Venezuela to take the oil, he says we want to take the oil from Venezuela. But the Democrats, they want to come out and say we are for human rights, what. Yet they want to take, oil from from the country. So Trump, if he wants lithium from Africa, he will say we are there to take the lithium. That rail, the Lobito corridor in the
Just like he
democratic
said that Egypt will go and bomb the Ethiopian dam.
so, yeah, so you can see that Trump is more direct. So
But
he came out and
I'm curious, and you just got me interested. Do you think he says these things out of ignorance, or is it some kind of strategy in it? I mean, you can't be that ignorant to say those
no,
things.
Trump is really not ignorant. The difference, you see, the difference between Trump, for example, and Obama or Biden is that, and that this is the reason why they don't like him. The mainstream society, the mainstream political system in the United States don't like him because he says exactly what they are going to do. That is the difference. For them, they cover up and they say we are coming for human rights. We are coming in Ethiopia for human rights. All right, we are coming because we are supporting the Tigray because of human rights and stuff like that. No, they are coming to overthrow, the prime minister's government, the prime minister Abiy's government. That is what they are coming to do. So Trump will come out and say, no, we are not coming for human rights. We are coming to overthrow that government because it's not doing what we want them to do. So this is the difference. That is why they don't like him in Washington, because he's not that type to sugarcoat things. He says things the way they are. So that is the difference. You see, so he shifted the office of the United States, the embassy of the United States, to Jerusalem, all right? While, other people were resisting and saying, no, this cannot happen. So Trump is more direct, in his approach. So that is why he says that, okay, for Africa, and that's why other Africans like
Let's
me,
dwell on that. But now we see that Trump is kind of distancing during this last Biden office, distancing himself or kind of criticizing what Israel is doing in Gaza. Do you think something has changed fundamentally?
I think it could be for elections, like what I was saying on this issue of the Democratic candidate Kamala Harris, is that the reason she did not meet Netanyahu is simply because she feared, the wrath of the people. You have seen a lot of people demonstrating, all right, the young people especially, and Kamala Harris is counting on the young people for that vote, right? And the young people have been against the United States involvement, and the fact that the United States has not been able to restrain Israel from continuing to bomb innocent people. So this could be an influence on Trump also, that he wants to get that vote. But of course, when they get that vote, after getting that vote, it will be another issue. They will give Israel all the support it needs. So Kamala Harris distancing herself from Netanyahu when Netanyahu came to Washington is because she wants to get that vote from the young people and all the people who are demonstrating against Israel's massacres and genocide. What is that? The genocide it is carrying out, in Gaza and Rafah, which it has been doing. So it is because they want to get that vote. So that is simply the issue. So these are the issues basically which she's facing when it comes, to the campaign.
So the lesson for us at the end of the day for Africa?
Yeah, so for us, I think that, of course, we have to understand that even though the approach as Africans, even though the approach to their campaigns is different, the approach is different, but the policy is the same. I think it is the political scientist Eric Lee who said that he compared the United States to China, and he said that in China you can change policy, but you cannot change the government. In the United States, you can change the government, but you cannot change policy. So this is the thing. So for us Africans, it's the same thing here that we have to that's how we have to look at the United States. In the United States, regardless of the government which changes and the approach can change and the government, but the policy is still the same towards Africa. So this claim that Trump had abandoned Africa, had left Africa, I really don't buy that claim which they say. Because even when Biden came back to Africa, when he came back, what is it that we have benefited from Biden's policy towards Africa? It's the same policy of exploitation of the African continent. It's just that during the Trump era, maybe the exploitation had receded. It had gone down a little bit. But still, even the Trump era, which they say it was a neglect of Africa. Military bases, the United States military bases were all over the African continent. Those military bases have never been reduced. Even when Biden came, the military bases, the US military bases on the African continent, they were not reduced. So what we are seeing is that even much worse during the Biden era, which is the Democratic era, the exploitation of our resources actually is becoming much more aggressive of the continent. And of course, I'm talking about the building of the Lobito corridor, railway corridor, and of course, the involvement of the United States in our continent militarily, all right, is becoming much more aggressive. So for the lesson, for us as Africans, is simple. The policy is the same. It's just that it has the degree, the intensity of exploitation. That is one thing. Now, from the election itself, what we can learn from it, apart from the policy of the United States as a government, is that the US needs are different, because the United States as a society is at a different development stage, a much more advanced development stage. So we should not take advice, on how to run our society, because the issues which we run on here as societies are far different. Okay, for them, they are running their elections on feelings. I feel like this. I want to feel like this. I want to feel like a transgender. I want to feel like that. For us here, the elections is a matter of life and death, right? For us, the election is a matter of life and death. Children are dying in hospitals without medicine. Okay, schools are not built. Our children are studying under trees. So you can see that it shows you we are on a different level, far different levels. Our society are on extremely different levels when it comes to our reasons for electing leaders. They elect leaders because they want to feel good, they want to feel like a transgender, they want to feel like a homosexual and stuff like that. This is the reasons why they are electing their leaders when you look at it. For us here, we are electing because we want to feed, we want a job, we want to eat, all right? We want our roads, made. We want medicine in the hospitals. We want classes built, in our societies, in our villages, so these are real issues for us. So there's a huge difference. That is why we have to be cautious when we are comparing ourselves to them and saying that the political system should be, the same, or even when especially our intellectuals are accepting dictates from the United States. I think there has to be some sort of pushback and say, put a break on there, because our societies are far different. We are facing, real issues. Our societies are facing real issues. You guys are running your society on feelings. We are running our society here. It's a matter of life and death. Our people are looking for what to eat. Our people are looking for schools. The roads are not good. The transport systems are not good. The communication, the energy is not there. You go to society, some of the societies, 80%, almost 90% of the people, don't have access to electricity. 88% of the people don't have access to electricity. So you can see that this is a real issue for us in our society. And yet, you look at a society like, for example, Sierra Leone, it needs like maybe $300 million. You see, you need $300 million to solve the energy problem, but the World Bank comes with that $300 million and gives it to Ghana and says that they should enhance their power system. And yet Ghana has already enough power, to run their society. So you can see that these people, they don't care about our society, whether we should improve it, and what we are, caring about, what is really bothering us as a society. So we are much far on different levels, as a people. So I think that this is a great lesson for us to learn, both the people on the African continent and of course the Africans in the diaspora, and also the African intellectuals who are always dilly-dallying with these systems and saying, oh, we should be like the United States. No, we can't be like the United States and how it was built as a society.
Thank you very much, Kwame. Yeah, indeed, the highlight for me was, for us, it's elections. So that's why they turn out sometimes deadly, or most of the time, because it's a life, it's a life and death issue. Because there's a lot of things, basic things that we don't have access too. I think that was it for us. Yeah. Well, I mean, this is something like out of my head. Uh, where do you think the mind of the African Americans right now? Do you think race matters for them? I mean, if you ask me, I don't think so. I think this time they will the election will be the result will surprise us. But if you have been following some African American organizations, where is their head at when it comes to
Yeah,
this?
I think that the young people who really don't pay attention to a lot of things like what we are talking about, like race issues and stuff like that. I mean, it will be easy for them to vote for Kamala Harris, but the people who are critical about what is going on in society, and they think that everything matters, and especially the old ones. I think they are likely to vote against Kamala Harris due to the fact that the older people, the older generation, mostly look at what have you contributed to the society, and the fact that she has a record that when she was an attorney, she used to arrest and put black men into jail. So the elder people, they are likely to look into these records, to scrutinize these records and history. What has she performed for the black community and the black society within the United States? But for the young people, that could go, it could pass, and they could just vote her because the face looks nice and she looks beautiful and stuff like that. But they would look the older people, and of course the conscious people, the critical people, they will examine all these things and say she even has a white husband. It definitely shows that she doesn't like the black people and stuff like that. So all these things, of course, will matter.
What is specific plans of Trump for Africa if he has said it already,
I think that Trump, for him,
or what will
he's
change as opposed to
I don't
Democrats?
think Trump's plans for the continent will change from uh, what he had during the first term. What definitely he says is America first. So for him, America first means that even if it comes to needing resources from the continent of Africa, he will come and take them. If he has to take them by force, because we remember that when they were asking him questions about the sovereignty of Syria and the fact that the United States was there, the sovereignty of Syria and Iraq, the fact that the United States was there and violating the sovereignty of those countries, he said that they should give him a break. What sovereignty are they talking about? That is that also a sovereign state, Iraq and Syria. Can you talk about those as sovereign states? So that mindset, you can see that it can easily be transferred to our countries, because he has already, in the past, he called them shithole countries. You see, so he has said in the past that these are shithole countries. So that means that if his Make America Great campaign means that, because we have seen that Elon Musk already is one of his supporters, and who's one of his financials. So if Elon Musk convinces him that we need the electric cars, because Trump in the past has said that the electric cars are not necessary. People should use the engine cars, the internal combustion engine cars. So if Elon Musk is able to convince him about the electric cars, then that means that uh, he will tell him that go to Africa and get the resources. So Trump can decide to come and take the resources by force, in any way, whether it is militarily and stuff like that. He can come and take them, wherever they are, where he sees that they are, whether it's the Democratic Republic of Congo, whether it's Zambia. If he comes and negotiates and you refuse to give it to him, then he can decide to attack militarily, to take them by force. Yeah, so I really can't say that he has a specific policy that you can say that is beneficial, that will be beneficial to Africa. But even the Democrats still don't have any policy you can say that is beneficial to, towards Africa.
Yeah, I think for us, it's all the same. I mean, we have seen a black president before Barack Obama, where things actually have gone even worse, as they
Even
say,
worse, yeah.
for black people in America. So I think, thank you very much, Kwame. yeah, it's Friday evening, but then a lot's happening. So tomorrow also we'll be here again. Yeah, and I don't see any questions from the chat except it's just a comment. Um, Thank you. And we call it a day. But we would like to remind our audience, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you find it informative enough, give it thumbs up and share the video with others. Do not keep this information only to yourself. You also help us by doing that. And you can also support us through our PayPal account in the description section. Thank you again, all of you who are supporting us, who are showing your love and support, really, and you know who you are. Please continue to do so. You can also support us in through super chat, and yeah, we will see you again on the next one. Thank you, Kwame.
Thank you very much, Mahlet.
Bye bye.